All right, welcome everyone to our first statewide school counselor network. This is a new setting for us, new opportunity to bring together school counselors from across the state. And we are very excited. In just a moment, you're going to get to meet all of the school counselor supports from each of the 9 AEAs, and we're going to get to meet you. I'm going to give just a moment. I know as with this being the first Friday for this opportunity, and there's a few people, hopping on at the last minute, so I don't want to miss them. But thank you again for joining us. And with that, let's go ahead and move into our welcoming and inclusion activity. Those just hopping on, you haven't missed anything yet. One thing that you'll see and experience throughout this year is your AEA supports modeling SEL practices, one of those being the Castle SEL3 signature practices. And so we'll start each Friday with a welcoming inclusion activity, as you might do in your own settings. And for that today, we're going to do a little bit of a virtual Four Corners experience. So we're getting excited for fall Zoom edition. And so if you were in person, we'd be going into actual Four Corners. Here, we're going to go ahead and use the chat. So looking at our 4 options, how you get excited for the fall or what you get excited about when fall approaches. You might be getting excited about opening your windows all day, letting in the cool, fresh air. You might be getting excited about pumpkin spice, or football Fridays and Saturdays and Sundays, and I think every day of the week. And maybe some of you are just ready to jump past fall and get to Christmas shopping. So finding that number that correlates with what you get most excited about, go ahead and drop that in the chat. If you'd like to add what you appreciate the most about that, maybe you put on a full spread for tailgate Saturdays, or maybe you've already been brewing pumpkin spice lattes all summer. Go ahead and pop that into the chat for us, and we'll see who's similar to you. Lots of ones. That's me, definitely one. Okay, give a few moments for everyone to get comfortable with that chat feature. We will also be talking today and getting to know each other, but again, this is just a real quick, short welcoming inclusion activity as people are continuing to join us. Gonna let the last 6 people that just entered the waiting room get in before we change slides. So again, if you're just joining us for the first statewide school counselor network hosted by our 9 APAs, welcome. And on the screen, you see our welcoming inclusion activity. Go ahead and reflect on what you get excited most about during the fall. All right. With that pause, I'm going to go ahead and move forward. So today's session outcomes, each month will have a little bit of a different theme. If you've seen one of the flyers for your AEA, you've seen those rough idea topic themes. Those may adjust slightly as we move through the year and listen to your needs and work to meet those needs. But today we're looking big picture. And so today's session outcomes, first and FOMO, there we go, enabling live transcription. Thanks for someone requesting that and getting that set on. We are also recording today's session, and that's my cue to make sure that record button is still going. Yep. Okay. So as I was mentioning, the 3 session outcomes, first, we want you to be able to name who your AEA school counselor contact is. You might be brand new to the profession, brand new to school counseling in Iowa, and not aware what the area education agencies are, or what we can offer. Maybe you've been with us for a while, but your AEA might have a new school counselor contact. We want to be sure that you know who your contact is in your agency and how to get in touch with them. We're going to discuss and refresh how we can articulate the role of the school counselor, not just for us and ourselves, but for our school community, and ensuring that to the best of our ability, we are in our role of school counselor. We know that can be tough. We're going to talk about that a little bit today, and then describe the purpose of this entire school counselor network, what you can expect from the year, and then within each agency, what you can expect or request from your AEA school counselor contact. So those are our 3 session outcomes for today. So we're going to go ahead and get started with that first one. To be able to name your AEA school counselor contact, you need to meet each of us. So it's time to meet your AEA school counselor supports. I believe almost everyone is on with us. So AEA school counselor supports, if you are on with us, when I get to your slide, feel free to unmic and introduce yourselves to the group. First up, Angie.
Hey, hi, I'm Angie Coop, and I'm in Central Rivers AEA, and I am a school social worker, and I'm also a team rep in a few rural districts. And so my fun fact, well, I was trying to think of what fun fact do I have, because my kids would probably say I'm kind of boring, but my fun fact was that I actually did see, I thought I saw Tom Brady's last NFL win last January when he played the Eagles. But unfortunately, then he came out of retirement. So I didn't have those bragging rights anymore, but I almost did. So anyway, and then my quote is from Leslie Knope, because sometimes those hardest hills make the most beautiful sunrise. So nice to meet everybody. And I am happy to be here. It's my first year and I'm excited to learn a lot.
Thank you so much, Angie. And Central Rivers is lucky enough to have 2 school counselor supports. We also have Chuck. And I believe you're on the line, Chuck, if you could introduce yourself.
I am. Hi, everybody. My name is Chuck Boosman. And like Courtney said, Angie and I are co-facilitating the school counselor supports for Central Rivers. And I'm the Authentic Learning Coordinator, which has a heavy college and career readiness aspect to it. So my fun fact, had to think way back. I didn't think there was anything fun really about my past, but my first 2 years of when I was way back when I was a teacher, I actually coached all 4 varsity sports 2 years in a row. So 8 consecutive seasons. And that might be a reason why I don't do that anymore. So that was a lot, but it was a lot of fun. So my quote, to give anything less than your best is to sacrifice the gift. That's Steve Prefontaine. I'm a big track guy, so that means a lot to me. But I'm happy to be here and ready to learn together.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Chuck. And now we're going to switch to Grant Wood, who also has 2 school counselor supports. First up, Amy Hospidarski.
Hi, everybody. I'm Amy Hospidarski. As you may know, if you're in Grant Wood AEA, these are 2 brand new positions this year, and we are absolutely thrilled to have them. So I am the K-5 school counselor consultant for Grant Wood, and my counterpart, Deborah Brokaw, is the 6-12 school counselor consultant. She was called out today on a crisis, so she's not able to join us this morning. So I included just something kind of fun in my fun fact, because it's a fun fact. I love to sing, and I've been in a couple of productions, and I've seen something about if you watch musicals and think that they're not like real life, that people just burst into songs spontaneously, then you haven't probably been around me very much, because I do that sometimes. So my quote that I shared, I actually this little thing I've been carrying around with me since like the very beginning of my school counseling career, but it's something that I got in a little network event, and it's branded with UNI, which is where my undergraduate degree is from. But that's quote was on this, and it's just something I've carried with me throughout my school counseling career. So really glad to be here.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Amy. Since Deborah couldn't be on today, do you mind introducing her for the group?
Sure. So this is Deborah Brokaw, 6-12 school counselor contact. Her fun fact, and she has demonstrated it to me, so I know this to be true, that she can say the alphabet backwards super fast. So, and there's her quote there from Brene Brown.
Awesome. Thank you, Amy. We're so excited to have you 2 with us this year. All right, going with the G's over to Great Prairie with JC.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jackie Jarms from, I know, my name is spelled in a way that can be pronounced many different ways. And so I go by both ways, but my mother did name me Jackie Jarms. I am the Instructional Services Coordinator for Great Prairie AEA, and school counselors fall under my umbrella of responsibilities. And so I'm super excited to be able to work with the school counselors in Great Prairie this year. Fun fact, my husband and I opened up a church a couple years ago, and I'm a licensed pastor, and I preach 2 services every Sunday morning. And so we're kind of busy at our house. My quote, "The essence of teaching is to make learning contagious, to have one idea spark another," by Marva Collins. And that's kind of how I view teaching and how I view working with all of you, is that one idea can spark another. Our learning should always be contagious. So glad to be here.
Thank you, Jackie. All right, over to Green Hills, another AEA with 2 consultant supports. First up, Andrea. Oh, Kathy. We're going to jump to Kathy.
Yeah, I'm not sure what, she's had some family stuff, so that might be it.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
but I'll introduce Andrea. Andrea was the contact, and then I came into play, and then she's back with us this year. So she's a school improvement consultant. I do attest that she goes by the nickname Rah Rah. We hear that a lot. And her quote, "Every student deserves a great teacher, not by chance, but by design." So I'm excited to work with Andrea this year.
Oh, and she just hopped into the waiting room. So we might give her a moment to show her face in a second, but I'll go ahead and have you introduce yourself, Kathy, and then pop back to Andrea.
I'm the community resource supervisor for Green Hills AEA. My interesting fact is my oldest niece is only 2 years younger than me, and actually all my nieces and nephews are older than my own children. My quote, "Don't let your character change colors with your environment. Find out who you are and let it stay its true color," from Rachel Joy Scott. I oversee our federal grant, STOP grant, to bring Rachel's challenge to all of our school districts. So that one really has resonated with me the last year or so.
Awesome. Thank you for
Thank you.
sharing, Kathy.
Yep.
All right, Andrea, if you're able to unmic, we briefly introduced you, but now I think you're online. If you want to go ahead and unmic and say hello. Putting you in the spot, so it's okay if you can't. You may be able to circle back later.
Are you talking to me? I'm sorry.
It's okay, Andrea.
Okay, I just got in and I couldn't hear anything, and then I just heard introduce yourself. Sorry, I'm Emily Phillips, and I'm a school counselor at Western Dubuque High School.
Thank you, Emily. No worries. I think a lot of people are hopping on all at the same time. We're good though. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's go over to Heartland. Many in the room know who Sue is, but Sue, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself.
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Sue Shermer. I'm here at Heartland, and you can read what my fun fact is, but yes, in 1995, when we moved to South Central South Dakota, I subbed in a one-room schoolhouse, and many of the students rode their horses to school. They had a little barn set up there for them, and that's it. And the quote that I have, I was fortunate enough to see Maya Angelou and in South Dakota. My daughter coordinated a thing for her. And yeah, do the best you can till you know better. And then when you know better, do better. So that's it. Thanks.
Excellent. Thank you, Sue. All right, Keystone has the pleasure of having Scottie. Scottie, are you on the Zoom this morning?
I am. Good morning, everyone. I'm Scottie Hagensick. I'm a school improvement facilitator for SEBH in Keystone, and also serve as the school counseling contact. And before coming to my role at Keystone, I was an elementary and middle school counselor. My fun fact is I have twin boys. They're going to be 5 next month. And then during COVID, we also welcomed twin girls. So we have kids who are either, depending on the moment, best friends or all out fighting. So it just kind of depends on the day. And then my quote that I chose, I think just really hits home with the role of school counselors, is that every day it's about that persistence and coming back and doing better. So my quote is, "A river cuts through rock, not because of its power, but because of its persistence." Thank you,
Awesome.
Courtney.
Yeah, thank you, Scottie. Gosh, there's some quotes that I haven't heard yet that I'm like, oh, if only I had a quote wall still in my room. Awesome. Thank you, Scottie. Let's see. Mississippi Bend is next with Dave Ford.
Good morning, everyone. Dave Ford. I'm Future Ready Coordinator at Mississippi Bend AEA and our lead school counseling contact. And I've been in that role this is now my 8th year there. So happy to see some folks from my region on here. My fun fact, I have 2 states left to get to. Although we kind of have a joke within our family. Hopefully this doesn't offend anyone on the call here. We're hoping that we can leave one, so that we can always say there's one state we've not been to. So if anybody has any votes on here for whether or not we should not go to Alaska or not go to North Dakota. But we do have plans to get to Alaska at some point in time. So we're gonna have to figure out what our plans are for North Dakota. I love this quote from Ferris Bueller, and I've been trying to work a lot on life work balance the last couple of years. I think a lot of us got sucked into 15-hour Zoom days during the pandemic and trying to recenter that. So that's a quote that I've acknowledged for many years, probably since the movie came out. So welcome, everyone.
Welcome. Thank you, Dave. All right. Over to the Northwest with Mark Shea.
Yeah, Mark Shea. I'm up here in Northwest Iowa. So I serve school counselors up in this region, and not on here is a fun fact, but my wife is a school counselor at Alta Aurelia. So I guess that makes me qualified to be the counselor contact for the region up here. But I have also served as a post-secondary success lead, doing a lot of work around supporting Future Ready. My fun fact is, if you go to high school softball up here, you may have seen me because I do a lot of umpiring all this over the summer. And I also have the Steve Prefontaine quote because I'm also a track and a sports guy. So, so Chuck and I are on the same wavelength with that.
Awesome. Thank you, Mark. All right, rounding out the AEAs in alphabetical order is Prairie Lakes AEA, and that is me. So I'm Courtney Cook, and my official role is Social Emotional Behavioral Health Coordinator. Under that umbrella, I'm also the school counselor contact and support here for the Prairie Lakes Area Education Agency. It was pretty fun this summer, and I guess one of the most random facts I could think of, most recently this summer, after attending the ASCA conference in Austin, my husband joined me in Austin. We both flew one-way tickets and then purchased a car from the Carvana vending machine in Austin, which was an exciting experience. And then we stayed at the Shotgun House for all you Fixer Upper fans in Waco. It was our second trip to Waco and the whole Magnolia compound, I would say. So that was pretty fun. And then my quote that I have lived by for a number of years is from a Diane Ackerman. I don't want to get to the end of my life and find that I've just lived the length of it. I want to have lived the width of it as well. And I think those that know me can say, yeah, I pack my schedule, but I do with balance as much as I can. For our next introduction, we also have support from the Iowa Department of Education this year, more specifically within the career and academic planning portion. And I'm not sure if Erica was able to join us this morning. You are on.
Yep.
You are.
Perfect. Yes, I am. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you so much for that introduction. I am Erica Woodschmitz. I am brand new to the Department of Ed in the area of career and academic planning as an educational consultant. So really looking at ICAP and how districts can implement that career and academic planning within their system. So I am a former school counselor. I was just at Johnston High School for a number of years, at Boone before that, and then in another state as well, teaching and as a school counselor as well. So just looking forward to my role, kind of figuring out and doing a little bit of learning as to what it really looks like and how I can help, as it is a new one. And so certainly it was the requirement that it was a school counselor. And so certainly the idea that the DE is looking at a greater impact on how we can kind of bring connections between both the Department of Ed as well as to the states and the AEA. So just looking forward to, you can see this quote up here. I spent years and years as a camp counselor. I cannot sing well. So unlike Amy, I cannot carry a tune, but I can sing. You name a topic, anything from, buzzards to boogers, I got it. So not that it's a skill that anyone wants to hear, but I can certainly do it to entertain myself and not my children. So my quote on here is from Jane Goodall. I kind of teetered between this one and a Tom Petty quote, but certainly we know that we cannot go through our day without making an impact on the world, and that you have to decide what kind of impact you would like to have. So.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Erica. That wraps up our network introductions of supports for you. In just a moment, we do want, we're going to invite you to introduce yourself in the chat box. Before that, though, just in case, I'm sure you've posted it in there at least once, Angie, in the chat box, could you drop the link to the agenda one more time? I'm realizing I did not put the bit.ly link on each of these slides. And so if you're on and you're a school counselor and you're wondering what's the rest of the morning looking like and not just introduction, we'll go ahead and drop that link to the bit.ly that has our running agenda for the entire year. There will be links to the slide decks for each session. And then once we get the recordings all teched up as they need to be and uploaded, we'll have the links to the recordings as well. So before the chat box floods with other information, I just wanted to make sure that was in there one more time for those that have been admitted recently. Since fun fact with Zoom, chat box disappears or starts fresh each time. So as I mentioned, we do want to get to know you. We weren't sure how many would be on, and I'm so excited we have over 100 people on right now. So we do not have time for each person to take the mic and introduce yourself, but if in the chat box you could introduce yourself, including your role and the school that you work in, that would be awesome. Not on the screen is how many years you've been a school counselor, and we would love to have that bit of information also to know, do we have mostly new school counselors? Do we have a lot of veterans, somewhere in the middle? We would love to get to know you in that way. And if you want to include a fun fact and or quote, we would love to hear that as well. So I'm just going to pause, give you a moment to drop that in the chat. Awesome. Oh, I love Just Keep Swimming. Can't go wrong with a good Dory quote. Just quick scrolling through. Awesome. So excited for you all to be joining us. Seeing some names I know and names I don't know, which is super exciting. All right. Those that are just joining us, we've gone through a round of introductions of the AEA school counselor contacts, and now it's just a moment to introduce yourself in the chat box. So again, just your name, role, school, fun fact, and our quote. All right. So along with that best practice of classroom instruction, we want to do a little check for understanding to see how we're doing with our session outcomes. In the chat box, if you would be able to type your AEA along with the name of your AEA school counselor contacts, contact or contacts, since some of you have two, that would be awesome. See how well we're doing. If you joined on during the introductions, you might not know this, and that's all right. A quick peek at the chat box over here. Very good. Awesome. Thanks, Angie. And if you did join us late, Angie's dropped in the link to a map where you can find your AEA. It's going to, especially if you're new to Iowa or new to the education system, you might not know what the AEA is or the boundaries. So that link can help you out after today, or for those joining the recording later on, how you can join or find your AEA. This information will be in that running agenda and slide deck for you to be able to find later. All right, so let's move forward. Our next session outcome is to articulate the role of the school counselor. This section, I've got this like gnat flying around my head here in this room at Prairie Lakes. So sorry if you see me waving away. For this section, this might sound like preaching to the choir, especially if you've been a school counselor for a long time or you're fresh out of grad school and you know the Ask a National motto left and right. But it is good practice as we start the year. We're looking at our vision mission, we're defining our goals for the year, maybe working out our schedule. It might be that you're recognizing, I don't think my school community completely understands the role of the school counselor. We're going to share a few tools that you can use to help you articulate that role of school counselor and how you can help share that with others and how that can help your school counseling program throughout the year. So first, the name does matter. We say this kind of lighthearted, but it really does matter how you're represented. And for some of you, you may have fixed this a long time ago. Maybe even the paraeducators and custodians do call you as school counselor. But we also know for many of us, maybe it's just habit of years of saying guidance counselor. And maybe you haven't found the gumption to say to whoever operates the website, hey, you know what, could we give this an update? This isn't really reflective of who I am and how I serve my community. So on the screen and in the agenda are a couple links that you can use to help inform your school community members of there really is a difference, and the use of school counselor instead of guidance counselor can make a difference to your school counseling program and the climate in your school. So there's an infographic and another handout that you can use that explains the research that has been done. Just a little personal reflection to think about, how are you represented on the school website? How do administrators and educators introduce you? I was recently at a conference and there was a group of, it was a mixed group of a teacher, a school counselor, and administrator. And it was interesting in that the school counselor introduced themselves as school counselor. And then within 30 seconds, the superintendent was next and introduced them as a guidance counselor. So, we know that happens, right? And then how are you represented on this schedule? This might be more so for our elementary counselors, but are you on the schedule as guidance? Or are you on the schedule as, counseling time? Are you on the schedule as social emotional learning time, or however that is on that schedule? That might be a thought for reflection and discussion on, what can help us move forward. And so on the slide, also just a few images. We're not the only profession that has evolved and grown. And if we think about, candy stripers and nurses, FCS or home ec to FCS, voc ed to CTE, flight attendants, their history. Again, we're not alone in this, and that can sometimes help people understand how we've also evolved. And then the next couple slides can help us with that message as well. So, role of the school counselor. A few resources that can help you out are from ASCA, the role of the school counselor handout, and then the one pager, who are school counselors. And so, with this, we want to think about who are we, what is our why really, and our mission. As you're formulating your lessons for the year, as you're meeting with students, you can do some self-reflection. Am I helping in all three domains? Do educators see me as someone that can assist in academic achievement, social emotional learning, and plan for post-secondary options? Do I have people to help me in these areas so I'm not the only one? In just a moment, we're going to be jumping into breakouts and collaborating and discussing, some of these barriers or success stories of how you've been able to advocate for yourself as a role. And something that often comes up is our role as leaders. And if you have the role of school counselor handout open, you would read on there that it says, as leadership team members, school counselors work to maximize student success, promoting access and equity for all students. As vital members of the school leadership team, school counselors create a school culture of success for all. And I don't have the chat box open, but I believe Angie's going to drop in some reflection questions. Yep, she has. So a few things to think about is, does your school community know who you are And does the school use you in this role or in these multi-domains? And then a big one, have you been leveraged as a leadership team member, or at least been seen for the value you could bring to a leadership team and a leader in these domains? So that's something to reflect on. We can talk about in breakout rooms, and then at the end of the today, something to carry forward with us as leaders in our school communities. We also want to be emphasizing that we're here to create a future where all students thrive. And that was on the last slide too. So something that's really important for us to remember is that we are also not going into October's theme of MTSS, but our profession is deeply rooted in MTSS. And really, we are there for all students. To be able to do that, we need to be able to have a strong program. And if we're following the framework of the Ask a National model, we're going to be looking at how have we defined our program? How are we managing that? How are we delivering that? And then, of course, how we are assessing that. When administrators find this out, it helps them understand us a little better, and it also helps them connect that, you know, we follow a lot of the same frameworks and principles as educators, thinking about a continuous improvement model and that. And so that can really help you create a stronger relationship, again, with your administrators. It can help you create a stronger relationship with educators, to see that, especially within the delivering of the school counseling program, with that, it can be helping consult with educators on how to help the students have academic success as well as social emotional success and reach their post-secondary goals. So again, the same handouts on this slide as the one before, and we are approaching our first collaboration time. But before we do that, we're going to share one last resource for you, is the handout from ASCA, Appropriate versus Inappropriate Duties. This is usually a hot topic, as you know, some of us in these roles have often been given inappropriate duties, right? You know, duties as assigned is something that all educators do have to face from time to time, but we have to really question how much time is it taking up in our schedule, and is it being used appropriately? So that handout can be a great conversation starter, and it's not to say to walk in, throw that down and say, gosh, you have me doing everything all wrong. We need to change this right now. We recommend an evolution and not a revolution. So in our next share time, we're going to be asking you to reflect and discuss what appropriate duties come naturally to you, what are the biggest barriers, which inappropriate duties are the biggest barriers, and what are the hardest to let go. Sometimes those inappropriate duties become like some easy, safe, comfortable time for us. So it might be something that, like, gosh, I kind of like lunch duty. And if you've been able to maximize that to have student conversations, great. But those are some just important reflection questions to think about. Is it getting in the way of my goals and my overall program? And then we'd love to hear some success stories, how you've been able to advocate for yourself. And I'm looking at my notes, and actually this time, if anyone would like to take the mic, and I'm going to stop talking for a little bit, we'd love to hear from you about this reflection, about these appropriate and inappropriate duties. So whether it's a barrier or a success story, feel free to take the mic and share with the rest of us.
Ooh, that's intimidating, Courtney. So I'll break the ice. I'm not going to sing, but I'll break the ice and just talk a little bit about, I love this evolution, not a revolution. And I think I have a perfect story of that. When I came into a position, I remember having a conversation using that actual page from the Ask a National Model book about appropriate and inappropriate duties to kind of begin a conversation about how I could maximize my time with students. And I remember that my administrator's response to that was, ask a what? Why do we have to listen to that? What? I mean, like, how do we know that that's the, you know, the authority on this? So that's where we started. Where we finished was, I was in a place where I had very few non-school counseling duties on my plate, and I was able to maximize my time. But it was definitely an evolution. That did not happen in 1 year, 2 year. It was a long time, and it's just baby steps. So it's just those little pieces of advocacy, having those conversations about, if I wasn't doing this, I could be working directly with students and having an impact here, or showing the results of what you've done with students. So now I challenge somebody else to talk. That's intimidating, but you would get a gold star if you can do that.
I can talk to you. Can you guys hear me? I don't know if you guys can hear me.
I was muted, so I couldn't tell you. Yes, we can hear you. Thank you so much
Okay.
for having on.
Yeah, so my name's Shay Hall. I'm a school counselor at elementary in Cedar Rapids, Erskine. And I maximize my time and I advocate for myself to do recess duty. And how I do that is we take a look at where the highest level of office referrals are and what grade, and typically, we all have our grades, right? So last year I did 5th grade, and the office referrals went way down because I was out there and I helped the grown-ups get better at supervising recess, and I could really interact with the kids. And this year I have 4th grade recess duty for the same reason, and just really setting up those strong expectations and boundaries for the kids at recess helps me so that I don't have to come and spend my time solving conflicts after recess. So that's how I maximize my time. Doing a non-counseling duty, I guess.
Awesome. You've turned it into an appropriate duty based off data. I love that. Yeah, being more proactive rather than waiting for them, which is kind of our tradition to be reactive. And so I love it that you're using data to inform yourself of where you need to be and how to help with the teaching and practicing of those social emotional skills in an area we know is a challenge. Recess, yes, equally challenging as lunch. All right, anyone else, if you're not feeling comfortable to take the microphone, no worries. Feel free to drop this in the chat also.
Courtney, I can jump in and share something too.
Thank you, Scottie.
I have a story pretty similar to Amy, as she shared hers as well, where I started and where I ended in some of my conversations with an administrator. And we got to the point, as I continued to reflect on which parts of the school day allowed me to really leverage my role as a school counselor and being very effective. And it was just little conversations throughout the school years as we continue to build that relationship between administrator and counselor. And I eventually was able to reach a point where she asked me which fair share responsibility, and she was even using some of that ASCA language, which was great. Which one of those responsibilities allows you to most connect with students and parents? And so I jumped on that car pickup duty at the end of the day, because I was able to let parents know that my role is here for all kids, and the kids could wave to me. I could catch parents if I had something quick to share with them at the end of the day. So really just being transparent about my role and just connecting at that tier 1 type level and universal. So I really was excited to be able to reach that point and really leverage a duty in an effective way.
Awesome. Thank you, Scottie. I'm so glad you brought up the term fair share. That's something for those of us that were able to attend a 2-day ASCA training this summer. It was something when we were discussing roles and appropriate and inappropriate duties, really, brought as a grounding thing to remember that, as I mentioned earlier, all educators are asked to do extra duties from time to time. And so, we do want to be respectful, especially in our smaller communities, even the bigger ones. There are going to be some fair share duties. And as long as it's something that, everyone's pitching in, it's something that's done, in a manageable way, that's fair share. And as Scottie mentioned, you can maximize that, or even Shay's example, you can maximize that recess duty for you. It becomes inappropriate if it falls completely on your plate and they see it as you're, just helping with some time. So that's a great discussion to have as well. All right, I'm going to give one more moment to pause if anyone else to take the mic. Otherwise, we're going to move forward and introduce our breakout groups for today. I'm gonna peek at chat real quick too.
So I'd be willing to share. My name's
Awesome,
Jessica
thanks.
Johnson. I am a school social worker and this is my first year in this role. So previously I was at AEA as a behavior consultant. So from what I had seen, I was really nervous that I would be put in a disciplinary position, which is what I've seen so often in my role at AEA, that social workers became almost like assistant principals. And so I was really concerned. And then I've started at Danville Elementary, and I've had a great experience so far where the discipline falls on the principal, and I've been able to get into almost every class, and we're really working as a team to talk about how can we support, you know, SEL universally, and then I get to look at the data, and we get to look at, again, like recess, where are those areas that are highest need that I can support. Yeah, so that's been a real success. It's made my job really enjoyable too. So, and, you know, there's no conflict, because what I would see sometimes was that if students were being disciplined by a counselor or a school social worker, then it would break that relationship. There was a lack of trust after those incidents. So it allows me to do, what I need to do in my role.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing, Jess. And thanks for that feedback in the chat box. Emily, is, this is our hope, that we can share these stories and through these networking opportunities on the second Fridays of each month, especially if you're a lone school counselor or new, that you can find some other people to connect with or lean into, not just our AEA supports, but also counselors from across the state. Again, this is a very new opportunity for all of those new to the profession. We haven't had this in Iowa in this way before, and we're really excited about it. All right, so let's jump into this collaboration time. We are going to open up into breakout groups, and we're going to do so by level. And I'm seeing this question mark. I don't know why there's a question mark there. That is definitely a typo. We are going to go into breakout groups by level, and it's set up a little bit different. So in just a moment, I'm going to open up the breakout groups. You're not going to be assigned. You're actually going to join on your own. So if you haven't used that feature in Zoom before, you'll go ahead in just a moment, you'll see a pop-up to join a breakout room. And then we're going to ask you to join either the elementary, middle school, high school, and then if we do have some directors, coordinators, administrators, or instructional coaches on with us today, you can go ahead and join that room. What you're going to have with you or refer to is the handouts that are linked on the slide deck, and I believe Angie's dropping in the chat box as well. So Ask has provided us these handouts, the essential role of elementary school counselors, middle school, high school, and then directors and coordinators. We know there are many of you that cross those levels, right? You might be K-12, you might be middle school / high school. For the sake of today, we invite you to either go to the breakout room you may be most comfortable with, or you're most familiar with, or maybe that's your opportunity for growth this year. Maybe you're a 6 through 12 school counselor and you've primarily been seen as the high school post-secondary person go-to, and you want to hone in on that middle school role. So you might want to go into that breakout. So again, the directions are, go ahead and open up the handout that's connecting to where you're going to join today. And then you're going to select the breakout group according to that level. When you get into the breakout group, we're going to invite you to discuss how on track are you to fulfilling the Ask Essential rules. So let's start out with success first. What's been going well the first 12-ish days? We were trying to count that up. Most of us have been in school about 12 days. How can you do more of that, right? Let's look where areas of momentum. And then what are some of the barriers? And together, hopefully in that collaboration, we can support each other in finding solutions. I'm going to go ahead and here in my Zoom tools. I'm going to go ahead and open those rooms. So go ahead and self-select which breakout room you'd like to join today for this discussion. And we're going to be in there about 15, 20 minutes. Like people are finding their way into the breakout room. If you're an AEA contact, if you could kind of divide yourself into one of those rooms. It looks like we do have someone in the director coordinator breakout room. So if I could have one of the AEA supports join Valerie in that room, so she's not alone, that would be awesome. If you're here in the main room and you're struggling getting into a breakout room, feel free to take the mic and we'll help you get in that spot.
I didn't have anything pop up, so.
Okay, let's see. Oops, I did not mean to change slide here. What room would you like to go into?
The high school?
All right, I think I can do that for you. Let me find, this is Kim talking, right?
Yes.
All right, Kim Barber, I'm assigning you to high school.
Awesome. Now it came up. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, Courtney. I didn't have anybody.
This is Lisa Alvarez. I had to say,
pop up either. I'm Carla Robison.
All right, Carla first, where would you like to go?
I'm K-12. So, and I was busy talking to my instructional coach and my at-risk person. So I missed the whole last 10 minutes.
No worries, no worries. Would you like to join the elementary breakout, middle school breakout, or high school breakout today?
Let's go middle school because that's where all the drama is today.
Awesome. Well, that sounds fitting. And then there's a handout, the essential role of middle schools. And then we're going to be posting those questions, the reflection questions too, when you hop in there.
Okay, where is the handout at? Is it in the chat?
Chat and the slide deck.
Oh, in the slide deck. Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. I think there's someone else needing help.
yeah, this is Lisa Alvarez.
Where would you like to go?
It didn't pop up for me either, but I'd like to join the high school group, please.
High school. Here you go.
Thank you.
All right, and for those others, if the pop-up didn't pop up, I believe if you select more or hover in the chat or breakout group, it should give you a choice to join. So you might actually have to click more to get that to the breakout room. Otherwise, we can have a conversation here as well. All right. Anyone lingering in this main room want to chat about what's going on going well the first 12 days?
Hey, Courtney, my name is Ashley and I cannot get in to the elementary.
Well, I will help you out, Ashley. And my slides are moving. Let's see. Oh, and you're the one who you're listed as iPhone?
Yes, I'm sorry.
No worries, I can help you out. All right, so I'm going to move iPhone to, you said high school?
Elementary.
Elementary, sorry, here you go.
Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. All right.
Hey, Courtney.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Hi,
I was
Maddie.
on the phone when
good.
you were giving directions. I was on a phone with a parent. So could you?
Understandable. Yeah, Would you like to join an elementary, middle school, high school, or coordinator director group?
Elementary, please.
Elementary, all right. Let me find you on the unassigned list. All right, Mandy to elementary. All right,
Thank
there
you.
go. Yeah, my pleasure. And I also want to say, we totally understand multitasking and know that you have probably 143 or more things that you're needing to do this Friday morning. So if you do get off a phone call or wrap up a meeting and you need directions, feel free to shout out. Otherwise, feel free to go ahead and join a breakout group as you're able. Whew, got word salad right now. Welcome, Beth. Sorry, I didn't have my chat box, so a few of you have, I'm gonna see if anyone else asked to be assigned to a room. Let's see. Jessica Gam.
I assigned some people if I knew where they
Oh.
worked at, just randomly.
Awesome. Thank you, Jet. Thank you, Angie. Let's see. I already assigned Brandy. And Jessica. Rachel. There were some direct messages to me that I didn't see. Okay, I think I got everybody. Again, if you've recently joined us, we have 4 breakout rooms set up that you can self-join by going into the breakout room option and then selecting either elementary, middle, high school, or directors and coordinators. If you need help doing that, feel free to drop it in the chat to either Angie or I, or just take the mic and let us know where you'd like to go. We will be in breakouts about another 10 minutes or so. For those of you joining the recording later on, a little note too, that during this time, if you want to review the handout according to what role or roles you're serving in your school, go ahead and think on your own, like what has been going well and what are some barriers, and then who could help you also with that. If you're not joining us for the live session and able to collaborate with others, who are those people either in your school? How can you connect with the AEA school counselor contact to help you gain momentum or find solutions for barriers? I really wish I could edit this slide in real time and remove that question mark, Angie.
That's okay, I know. Turn it. We didn't catch that. Next time.
Next time, yeah. If you hopped on recently, we have about 10 minutes or so left of breakout groups. If you need help finding your breakout group and joining them, just let us know.
Hi, my name is Mia Calcaterra, and I just got on, and I'm not sure what breakout room to join. I'm so sorry I'm late.
No worries. We knew it's the life of the school counselor, right? We can definitely help you out. What role do you serve in your building or district right now?
I'm the 10th grade counselor at Ottumwa High School.
Did you say 10th grade?
Yes, ma'am.
Awesome. So would you like to join the high school group then, probably?
Sure. Yes, I didn't even hear what the groups were, so that would be great. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we have breakout groups by level right now. So we have the elementary, middle, high, and then school counseling directors and coordinators if you have a leadership role. And then the handouts that are in the agenda and slide deck there's 4 Ask a handouts that describe the essential role of that level. So I'll go ahead and open or assign you to the high school. And then if you need further
I already
help,
did the assignment, Courtney, as you were talking, so.
Oh, Angie, you were on top of it. I was just looking in the unassigned list. I was like, wait, I don't see her name as unassigned.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, my pleasure. Enjoy. Kim must have had to hop back on. Welcome back, Kim. Were you here? Did you leave during breakouts or before? She might be driving and not able to talk too.
Yeah. Courtney, I set my timer for 20 minutes and there's 7 minutes of that 20 left, just an FYI.
Perfect. Good. We set timers about the same time. Well, I was a little behind. I was 7:20. So yeah, we'll I think I'll do a broadcast 5-minute warning in just a moment. Kim, do you want to join one of the level breakout groups?
How much is left? I'm sorry, I had to take a call and then now I'm on my phone and I couldn't figure out how to turn it on so I could talk to you.
No worries, no worries. I want you to be safe driving for sure. There's about 7 minutes left of the breakout.
Oh, sure. Yeah. If you want to put me in one, I'd be happy to just listen in.
Awesome. Would you prefer elementary, middle, high school, or directors and coordinators?
How about elementary? Because that's who I'm going to be helping in that one school for sure.
Sounds good. There you go.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Courtney, do you want me to broadcast the message?
I was muted. Sorry, I have something typed up, but I keep running out of space.
Okay,
So I'm
I
gonna have
did
to
that.
send it. I have to send it in 2 messages. I was just gonna encourage them
okay.
to share contact information also, so that
Perfect.
they can continue the conversation. So I'll just do
Sounds
that.
good. Yep, as long as you're on that, that sounds good. When you run out of space and somebody cuts you off, I'm like, does that mean I'm too wordy? I think what I have to say is pretty good. I don't need to be cut off.
Exactly. Okay, if you haven't already, we maybe encourage instead of invite. Good morning, Derek, and welcome. We are currently in breakout groups, but we have just about 1.5 minutes. So if you'd want to hop into a breakout room, you could, or if you want to hang out here until they return, you can stay as well. Angie, since you're not in a breakout group, I don't know if you would have seen that notification, but I went ahead and clicked the close and they got the 60-second warning countdown. All right, let's see. Our participant number growing in the main session. Oh, someone saying something. Hey, good morning. Welcome back to the main group. Oh, and there was my timer. to remind myself to wrap up here. And of course, I restarted the timer instead of ending it. Canceled. There we go. All right. We'll wait. A few of the groups must be trying to get every last second in before the breakout groups close. But as you come back, we hope that conversation was helpful. Hopefully we didn't cut you off too short. If you missed the broadcast message, we hope that you are sharing contact information also, so that you can continue these conversations, be of support to each other in between our monthly networks. And with that, it's time for another check for understanding. So in the chat box, we invite you to share one way that you will help either inform or clarify your role, either for yourself or for your school community this year. So I'll give you a moment to drop those in the chat box. For our friends joining the recording, I'm just going to review some of these. Some of you are going to share that infographic of the school versus guidance counselor. That can be an awesome conversation starter. Considering an advisory committee to include parents. Awesome, Shay. Monthly newsletters. Presenting to the school board. Excellent. Great job, Bree. Reach out if you need help from your AEA support. Sticking to the schedules, blocking timeout, promoting social emotional learning, sending the roles to staff and putting on the website. Awesome. Continuing to post resources to the Facebook page. Great job, everyone. Continuing to do what you do, promoting trauma-sensitive schools, suicide prevention, check in, check out. Monthly district newsletter. Excellent. Yeah, keep this up, everyone. I love it. Go ahead and feel free to keep typing those into the chat box. As we wrap up or get close to wrapping up, our last session outcome is to describe the purpose of the School Counselor Network. So we're going to again review, what this network is about, why we formed it, what we hope to accomplish, and ways to support you. So from this School Counselor Network, you can expect from these monthly Zoom and in-person meetings to provide collaborative peer networking. We've started that. Obviously, moving forward, we won't have to spend as much time on introductions. And so we hope to grow that collaboration time. We'll be sharing resources aligned to ASCA best practices. We'll be providing new learning uniquely designed for school counselors. And sometimes we hear from school counselors that, hey, when our school has PD day, it has nothing to do with me. So we're hoping to provide and share other learning opportunities for you that meets your needs. We'll encourage you to reflect on your current work and action planning for growth. And then we'll be providing some state and national updates along the way as well. And I do want to pause just a moment in case you haven't heard the format of this network. There will always be a Zoom option across the state. The link will be the same each and every month. And then the AEAs are individually deciding if they'll also provide an in-person spot. So like here in Prairie Lakes, I'm in this, no one's with me today in this big room. Feels kind of funny, but there'll be an in-person option, and many of our AEAs will have that set up at least on a quarterly or bi-monthly basis. And this networking may continue past the 8:30 to 10 o'clock spot, but at a minimum, we'll have this 8:30 to 10 o'clock Zoom ready and for you and any other stakeholders you feel that should be here learning more about school counseling. So 8:30 to 10 o'clock Zooms, and also some in-person meetings to provide these 5 objectives. For a moment, I want to preview October 14th, since that is next. And Jackie, feel free to hop in and take the mic if you'd like to elaborate on this a little bit more. So the 3 core session outcomes as of right now are to define the components of a multi-tiered, multi-domain system of supports. We're going to articulate your role as a school counselor within an MTSS system, and then also describe the key aspects of an early warning system. Jackie, do you have anything to, I'm kind of putting you on the spot, but if you do have anything to add to October 14th, what they could expect from our next network opportunity?
The only thing I would add is that looking at that MTMDSS might be new, whereas we typically talk about just MTSS. And so that multi-domain within your multi-tiered system of supports. And so we'll be looking at what does that multi-tiered system of supports look like, academics, SEL, college and career ready. So getting those other domains in there as well. And so I think it's going to be a great day of learning, and I hope people will join us.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And with any of the networks, if you have some specific requests or questions to help you prepare for October 14th, definitely feel free to drop them in the chat box now, connect with your school counselor support, or reach out to any of us. And we'll see how we can help those needs, whether it's during that statewide 8:30 to 10 o'clock time slot, or if there's something that you would like locally, definitely let us know. And you'll also have a chance to let us know right now in that we're going to take a moment to check for understanding on the purpose of the School Counselor Network. In the chat, go ahead and share which of those 5 aspects of the School Counselor Network you're most looking forward to this year. So again, as a reminder, since they're not on this slide, if you don't have the slide deck open, and we're going to be providing collaborative peer networking, resource sharing aligned to the ASCA best practices, new learning uniquely designed for school counselors, reflection of current work and action planning for growth, and state and national updates. So we would love to hear what you're most looking forward to. And then again, if this is a time you want to say specifically within one of those 5 aspects you need support and help in, definitely drop that in the chat box for us to consider. And if there's time at the end too, we're just going to open up all mics and have some final Q&A and discussion too. All right. See those populating the chat box. If you're still typing, go ahead and press return once you have that typed in. I'm going to move forward to our optimistic closure. And this kind of carries forward from that last note in the chat box. One of my favorite SEL signature practices is the I am curious, but also my first next steps. Actually, my favorite is probably my first next steps, but we also recognize that you might not be ready to define what your first next steps are, and you might just be more curious to learn more about something. So we're going to give you about 3 minutes to reflect a little bit, and we're going to collect these responses in a waterfall format. So I'm going to set the timer, give you 3 minutes to go ahead and reflect and type your response and your reflection into the chat box, but wait to press enter or return until the time is up and you hear the word waterfall. Let me go ahead and start that timer, and then I'll repeat the directions in case anyone was muted and multitasking. Lowering my volume a little bit again. So go ahead and type your response to I am curious, or my first next steps are for evolving as a school counselor are, and then wait to press enter or return until time is out and you hear the word waterfall. All right, time's up. Go ahead and waterfall those responses into the chat box. We'd love to hear your reflections and celebrate your first next steps. As those responses come in, I'm going to go ahead and move to the next slide before we go ahead and open up to overall Q&A and discussion. And we don't have much for state and national updates, but there are 2 conferences approaching in the state and with registration open. And so if you haven't already registered or you haven't heard about these 2 conferences, the Iowa Best Summit hosted by the Department of Education and the Scanlon Center for School Mental Health out of the University of Iowa. Registration is open for that October 10th and 11th. And then the Iowa School Counselor Association Annual Conference, registration for that is also open now, and that is November 6th through 8th. The pre-conference is on the 6th, and then the conference itself is the 7th, 8th. Both of those are at the Iowa Event Center in Des Moines. The ISCA conference technically being in the Hy-Vee Hall, but both of those are in that Iowa Event Center. And if you have any questions about getting registered for those, advocating for how to have that conversation with an administrator to be able to attend and leave the building for a couple of days, definitely reach out and we can help you in that advocacy. In just a moment, Angie, if she hasn't already, is going to drop a link to a post survey in the chat box. If you had hopped on after the pre-survey, no worries, but just as we mentioned that our resource sharing is aligned to ASCA best practices, we are also modeling best practices by gathering data, some pre and post test survey of our participants to gauge our content, our learning together to see how we are on track with what we're delivering with you. So we do appreciate you taking just a moment to complete that post survey to inform our supports for you. With that, I am going to stop screen share. PS, the links to those conference registration sites are linked to the images in the slide deck. So if you get that slide deck opened up, get to this page, those images should take you directly to the conference registration pages. With that, I'm going to go ahead and stop share and open up the gallery so that we can see each other and take these last 10 minutes to go ahead and have some final discussion Q&A. Hello, and now I can see everyone. I feel so much better. And thank you for your grace today in this inaugural state network contact. Several times like, why did I volunteer to be the first to lead? I'm not sure, but you know, I ripped that Band-Aid off and I did something brave. So with that, I'm going to mute and open the floor. I'm going to take the mic back already though. Something else Angie dropped into the chat box that I forgot to mention was going to be shared with you is a self-assessment tool that you may or may not be familiar with. So within the ASCA resources, you may have seen this as a Word document. This summer when we, many of us attended a 2-day ASCA training and we were viewing these tools and these self-assessment practice tools. And we converted it to a spreadsheet so that you can populate your reflection on the first tab. And then if you want to dig a little bit deeper and see, you know, what area do I maybe need to grow in the most, it will self-calculate on those other tabs. And there is some more guidance along that with ASCA. If you want to learn more about how to use this tool, definitely reach out. But we wanted to be sure to share that with you today so that as you're doing some beginning of the year best practices of setting goals, you know, establishing your schedule, your annual calendar, getting your advisory established, all those best practice activities, this is one tool that you might find helpful in evaluating for your goals. Great, so where to find the slide deck? Angie's dropped the direct slide deck in. Also, do you want to drop in the link to the agenda one more time? So the running agenda will be a Google Doc that you want to star in your Google Drive, as it's going to be your connection to, hop on Zoom each month, find out what the topics are. All the slide decks and recordings will be linked into that agenda, as well as additional resources. Yeah, thank you, Sarah, for joining us today. And thank you, Bree. Gonna do a little scroll. All right, Taryn has a question about things school counselors take care of and what we really need training from the state before starting our roles. So 504s and our role in that process. We don't want to be the sole, but we realize that for many districts, you might have that hat for now. We'll help you evolve. But yeah, how to manage and support the 504 team, concurrent enrollment, LEAs, IEPs. Does anyone want to hop in and share a little bit about that right now? I think some of these were just with the reflections, so you don't have to start there. Any other questions that you just need to have answered now before next month? As I'm catching up on reflections, I'm loving the first next steps of setting boundaries. Always a growing edge for me. Developing workflow. This is great information to help us with this network. But again, feel free to reach out in between the network and not just wait for that next month. Any of their school counselor supports from the AEAs have any words of wisdom or tips as we wait for questions or give this final 5 minutes of reflection time?
I know there was a question about contact information. We just created a really super quick Google Sheet in the elementary chat room, and I included that in the chat. But as we think about developing our networks of people who might help support us, I didn't know if there was contact information for any other levels, but we'll see if we can get that. And if not, we'll think about that for our next session, or how we can best connect to each other.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that, Amy. And thanks for taking the lead on helping set up that Google Doc or spreadsheet for that. One thought I had too, as you were saying that, if you're not aware of the Iowa School Counselor Listserv, that's, I guess we would say, administered by ISCA, but you don't have to be an ISCA member to be a part of. We will add that link. There's a Google form to sign up for that. And that's been a great way for counselors across the state to ask questions and network with each other. Just a little history. University of Iowa used to manage that for the state, and they needed to release that. And so ISCA went ahead and took that on. But again, you do not have to be an ISCA member to take part in that listserv. So we'll be sure to add that Google form link to the agenda so that you can join that listserv as well. And with that, those that do need to take off, thank you again for joining.